Hey everybody, this is Pat Foster. TransWorld's at Glen Helen today. We're testing the 2013 YZ450F. There's not a lot of changes to the bike this year, mostly cosmetics. They've got a white rear fender, they've got different handlebars. They've played with the ignition programming a little bit to smooth out the roll-on power. Some people have complained that the Yamaha hits a little bit too hard off the bottom. I don't notice a big difference. It might be a little bit smoother, but quite frankly, I liked the hit of the 2011 bike. Not a big deal. The bike still works good. It pulls hard off the bottom. The power characteristics the last couple of years have been a really hard hit down low, a really good mid-range, and then the bike's got decent top end, but it signs off a little bit up on top. Obviously, the power is going to be very similar. It comes on a little bit smoother right out of the corners, but the mid and top are pretty similar. One of the bright spots for the Yamaha is it's had fantastic suspension the last few years. The action is really smooth, it's predictable. It's a little bit soft for me. It's sprung a little soft, but the overall action and the stock settings works really well and probably going to appeal to most folks. It's a great starting point. I spent all year on the 2010 model and I spent all year on the 2011, so I'm very familiar with this bike. One of the big positives for me is basically owning the bike for a couple of years. What I really liked about it is the fact that these things are just bulletproof. I like to go ride, I ride a lot, I ride hard, and we've been a little bit lazy on working on the bikes, and it's really easy to get away with that on the Yamaha. I didn't have to replace anything. I think on the 2010 I put a new chain on it, and I put a new clutch in to go to one race, and I didn't even need to, just felt that I should. And the 2011, I never worked on it all year. The thing ran great, nothing wore out. They're just really, really solid bike. So definitely something that I would consider buying just because it's so cheap to own it. You don't have to put a lot of money into it. So obviously the Yamaha's got a lot different design than some of the other bikes. They've done a lot of work with the geometry, kicking the engine back, centralizing the mass. Some people love this bike, love the way it handles. Obviously there's people that have issues with it. I think this bike's got a bum rap recently because of James's switch. But I think it's a lot of it's personal preference. I've heard some people complain about the way this bike handles. I've really enjoyed it. I like it, and maybe it's just a style and a size thing. It seems like maybe the larger guys don't have issues with the bike. It definitely has a larger feel to it. You get on it, and the shrouds are big and wide. It would be nice if that was a little narrower. But when you're going fast and you're at speed, this bike feels really light, and it's not necessarily light on the scales, but I'm a fan of the centralized mass. I think it feels to me like the bike's carrying the weight right in between your feet. The front and the rear end stay relatively flat. It doesn't get too pitchy. I think that it does carry a little bit of weight on the front end. So you come into corners and it's got a little front end bias. The front end wants to push. Initially when you're setting up the bike, you've got to spend a little time with the balance, setting the sag correctly, playing with the fork height. Most people are going to have the suspension done for their size and for their ability. Once you do those things, gosh, this bike's in the ballpark. Of course, if you still want to adjust the ride height, there's all kinds of aftermarket linkages that we've played with it that work extremely well. But I think the majority of folks, once they get the bike set, the sag set for them, they play with the fork height, I think they're going to be happy with how this bike works. Being a taller rider, I really enjoy the ergonomics of the Yamaha. It's got a really open cockpit. The seat is relatively flat. It's easy to slide back and forth on the bike. And then Yamaha offers you further adjustability with the bar clamps. Not only can you move them forward and back, but you can also rotate the clamps. So you got 4 different positions to try to customize the fit of the bike. And I think that's really cool. I've personally been a fan of this bike since 2010. They've done some minor refinements over the last couple of years. The minor refinements are fine with me. I like this bike, I'm happy with it. And I think this thing's going to be a viable option for folks. Check it out.